As we approach tonight, the fifth Lechtala, fifth candle, had a special chashivas, especially in the Hasidic courts. I think one of the reasons is that it is the one night of Hanukkah, I believe, please someone correct me if I'm wrong, that can't fall on Shabbos. Fifth night of Hanukkah can never fall on Shabbos. So why then would that be a reason that it should have more kavod, or somehow it should deserve more respect? If anything, one would think the opposite. By this point of Hanukkah, so many of us already have joined Donuts Anonymous or something. It's been some of us overdosing on that already. As life goes on, gets a little bit confusing. I think it really disturbs your mindset a little bit. After you eat a certain amount of donuts, the world begins to look round. It's just everything like slows down a little bit, and it's coming like from. I mentioned this over Shabbos. So it's coming from deep into Flatbush, and I was losing it a little bit. I always got confused. Avenue N. When I get to N and O, any street between N and O, so wherever I have to go, it always goes the wrong way. So I go one more block, and then the other block goes the wrong way. I'm forever getting confused, and then it's like this is like a Flatbush nightmare. Whenever you're lost, King's Highway jumps up on you. It's like, and then when you get away from it, you're like, okay, there it is. It's in your rearview mirror. You keep going, and you get to King's Highway. How did that happen? Boom. Got you. I don't know. I know when we went for Shabbos, like, when you get over the Staten Island Bridge, so somebody in the car said, at least in Staten Island things are more calm. Not so confusing. Everything is nice and edel and fine. They look up and they see Arthur Kill Road. I said, I don't know. What did they want from Arthur? What did he do wrong? Was he like one of the original explorers of Staten Island? I'm like, what a name, Arthur Kill Road. Okay, in any event, so Baruch Hashem, we are all here. Now here he comes. Okay. I should have spoken about Mashiach. That's what I should have spoken about. There we go. This donuts may have a dangerous effect over here. If by 12:30 the shear is still going and I can't come to a stop because we're going round and round, I want to tell you something. All right. So one at a time now. Let's go, everyone. That's nice. Let's be civil about this. Uncle Yankel, a donut? You've had enough already. Yes. Okay. Here comes the tea. That's more our age. This is more like it. The tea, right? Okay.
Thank you.
So I also want to thank everyone for coming here with a tremendous amount of Mesiras Nefesh tonight. I'm sure it wasn't easy given all the Hanukkah parties, and you didn't know they were giving out donuts. Even I didn't know. Some things, only the select few have a privy. So everyone's going to turn around and look at the donuts now. This is good. See, if in 8th grade you can say, no one is to turn around. You can't do that when you're teaching with adults, right? That's always a problem. You just have to sit here and smile. Well, everyone's going to turn toward the donuts, right? Somebody once told me, let me ask this kasha. It's an interesting kasha. Let's say a guy sells shoes, right? You're a shoe salesman. So generally, when you're in a shul, you notice people's shoes, right? It catches your attention. You turn around, you look at it because you sell shoes. You say, well, where'd you buy that? Which store? How much you pay for it? Let's say someone sells eyeglasses, right? So generally speaking, you'll look at other people's eyeglasses because you know what's in style, you know what the Hamish stores have, you eye on it. Guy sells watches. So you look at watches. It's a natural thing that you look at a watch. I had a friend, he went to China, and on the street they were selling, I don't know, what's the name for a fancy watch? I forgot. Philippe something, I forgot.
And that's it, Philippe.
Uncle Yankel, what was it?
In Switzerland.
Switzerland? What's it called?
Chef House.
Chef House?
The best in the world.
Best in the world. Okay, so Uncle Yankel says Chef House is the best watch in the world. So I don't remember which watch it was. Let's say it was one of those watches. So he picks one up on China, on the street. They're selling it there for $25. They have like vending machines. You can buy Tourneau and Roe, you can, whatever you want. So, and he brings it home, and he went to visit someone. He went to visit a Yid that he knows. This Yid collects watches. This is his thing. He has like a whole safe of like the nicest watches in the world. So he comes in with this Chef House or this whatever it's called, and this real, like, I don't know, $50,000 watch, and he's talking to him, and the guy's like looking at his hand, and he keeps turning his hand away, and finally he just grabs his hand, stares at it, and he says, "This is an imitation. Where'd you get this? Was this made in China?" He goes, "Yep, and that's where I bought it." And I was there. So he says, "How much you spent for this?" I said, $25. He said, "You bought an imitation in China for $25? He says, it's not worth anything. It's a waste of $25. And look, this caught your attention, right? You thought it was a $10,000 watch. And you're an expert. And the only way you realized there was a cheap imitation is when you grabbed my hand, it looked like this. But when I walk on the street or I go to a chasana, most people don't grab my hand and go like this. So you tell me if it's worth $25 or not, right? Most of the world thinks that I have something. So a guy that's into watches, when people walk in, he'll generally, you look at the guy's watch. What kind of watch does he have? A painter that paints, right? So you walk in, you see somebody painting, you want to see what kind of paint does he use. You're a dentist. You walk in, you see, braces in someone's teeth. What kind of braces are those? I do that stuff, right? So basically, one guy sells shoes, he looks at the other guy's shoes. No one else is interested in shoes. One guy sells eyeglasses, he looks at the other people's eyeglasses. No one else is interested in eyeglasses. So basically, we all turn around to something we have a connection and a shaykhus with, right? So why is it that when a chaser deya, when someone's a little like whack, walks in, everybody turns around to look at it? What does that have to say about all the people? Right, about us? So I know we're all turning around to the donuts because we're, I'll cover the Yom Tov, we all have a cheshik, the Kiddush is burning us. So why is it when a deranged man walks in, everyone turns to look? Okay. So there's a craving within us, be'etzem. Why do we do this? Because there's a craving within us to find ourselves. Even in terms of looking at someone else, there's a craving to find ourselves. We all want to make a mark within the context of who we are. When they say there was this guy who applied for a job as a lion tamer, and they said to him, "You're sure you can be a lion tamer?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Where are you certified?" He says, "I was trained by Alberto, the famous lion tamer." Really, Alberto? There was a famous lion tamer? Yeah. He says, "You know how to hold a whip to a lion?" Alberto taught me how to do it. He says, "You know how to hold the whip and the chair at the same time, like one leg of the chair?" Alberto, the famous, fearless lion tamer, taught me how to do it. You know how to stamp your feet and get the lion to run to the corner? He says, Alberto, the fearless lion tamer, taught me how to do it. He says, "You know how to look into the lion's mouth?" He says, "Of course I do." He says, "When was the last time you looked into the lion's mouth?" He says, "When I was looking for Alberto," he says, trying to find him. So on the one hand, we know our greatness, and we also have to know our limits. And that's the world of bracha. The greatest bracha in a person's life is if he knows his limits, he knows not to overstep his bounds. And on the other hand, he knows the kaiches that he has. He knows who he is. The skula of Ner Chanukah is that it brings out the best within us. And the Rav Pinchas Lakartz and the Medrash Pinchas and many other Hasidic Svarim point out that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world, there was an Or HaGanis. The Or HaGanis was the hidden light, and that's hidden in the Torah. The person who learns Torah is Zeicha to Siyata D'Shmaya. He's Zeicha to have insights, to see certain things, depending on the level of Torah L'Shma that a person is Zeicha to. But the skula of Ner Chanukah is that you can see the Or HaGanis. What does that mean? Just imagine if for a moment I can flip a light, and you say, and all of your problems in life, all of the things you're struggling with, all of the challenges you struggled with, all of your hurdles, all of your fears, your concerns, your anxieties, the curveballs in life, it all made sense. Aha, now I understand. Imagine I can flip that kind of a light. That's really what the Or HaGanis would be, which is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to hide the Or HaGanis. Because if we all were privy to the Or HaGanis, we would have no pain, we would have no reason to want to do tshuva, we would have no reason to try to make our lives better. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not take away the Or HaGanis, He hid the Or HaGanis. And the Or HaGanis is hidden in the Torah. Amen. Says the Medrash Pinchas, for how many hours did the Or HaGanis, was it open on this world before it was hidden? Adam Rishon was created when? Friday morning. You had the 12 hours of Friday. Although he ate from the Eitz Hadas, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not throw Adam Rishon out before Shabbos till Mitzvah Shabbos. That's when the Or HaGanis left. That was the first time he was exposed to darkness. So you have 12 hours of Friday, plus the 24 hours of Shabbos. So there was a total of 36 hours that the Or HaGanis was the Or, not the Or HaGanis, not the hidden Or. And how many candles do we light on Hanukkah? If you add up 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, 36. So the 36 Neiros in Hanukkah correspond to the Or HaGanis. Does that mean that we could see the Or HaGanis? Perhaps there were tzaddikim that did. But we could draw from it, on our level, a sense of chizuk, a sense of, the Rabbi Shalom has it all figured out. I may not see it, but the Rabbi Shalom has it all figured out in these post-death experiences, whatever that means. So whatever the authenticity of it, you want to question it, but the studies are quite fascinating. These people that died and were clinically dead and they were brought back to life, they all describe a light. And they all basically say the same thing, that they're referring to it as a light because they have no other way of explaining it. But it's like no light they ever saw down here in this world. It was a light that answered all kashas. Like they weren't scared to die afterwards, they wrote. So there is a concept of this Or, and somehow that is in the Or Chanukah. So that's all very nice. It's a nice drush. But so what am I supposed to do with that? I mean, I'm looking at the candle going up and down. Where's the Or HaGanis? Where I still have my problems that I have to do. Still got to face my boss tomorrow, the next day, and ride to work and all the other tzaras. There's a mashal. It's brought down in the Svar Mekdash. I heard this from Rabbi Melech Peter Mizl Gezind. There's a guy who's like really angry with his life. I mean, not stam angry. He is disgusted. He wants to give up. He's had it. Life is just not going his way. And someone tells him that he heard that the Sar of Mazel, the minister that's in charge of Mazel, that he's like, taking up residence at the end of the forest. Why don't you discuss with him your ill Mazel? So he's angry and he stumps his way forward through the forest to engage the Sar HaMazel, the minister of Mazel. He's going to ask him, tell me, why is my life so miserable? So in the middle he stumbles over something that's grunting. He turns around and he sees a lion. First he's scared, then he sees this lion is a sick lion. This lion has massive stomach problems. Perhaps Alberto, he was allergic to Alberto, didn't agree with him very well. And he leans down and the lion says, I'm so sick. But I hear that you're going to the Sar HaMazel. Can you please ask him why I can't be like all the other lions in the jungle, big and ferocious and king of the beast? Instead I'm laying here and it's very hard for a lion to pick up tums anyway. I can't even move. He says, listen, I'm going for my problems, not for yours. And he leaves. And at one point he wants to rest, and he's leaning against a tree. And it looks like a very sturdy tree. It looks like a cedar. And as he's leaning on it, the whole thing starts shaking back and forth, and branches start falling on his head. He jumps back. And the tree starts talking to him. He says, oh, they, my mazel, First the lion, now the tree. The tree says, I'm supposed to be a strong tree. I should be from the most unshakable trees in the forest. And yet something is wrong with me. I'm staggering back and forth as if I'm drunk. I heard you're going to the Sar HaMazel. Boy, word really gets around in the forest. Which mikvah does everyone use over there? Which sheikh will macher? Can you please ask, why is my mazel so shaky? Why is this my matziv in life? So he keeps going, weiter. Then he sees there's a girl, she's laying on the floor, crying her head off. What's your problem? Nothing ever goes her way. And on. You're going to the Sar HaMazel. You too. This is really getting around over here. Anyway, he comes to the Sar HaMazel. The Sar HaMazel says, my policy is I don't discuss people. When you come about your own personal mazel, I don't discuss it. He is furious. He is angry. He is screaming at this Sar HaMazel. He says, my rotten luck. Don't say that in front of me, says the Sar HaMazel. And finally, so he asks him about the others, and he's on his way back, and he meets the maiden. And the maiden says, did you ask the Sar HaMazel what the story is with my mazel? And he says, yeah, that's the story of my life. I go and I don't get anything. Everyone else gains everything. I work and someone else gains. Did you ask the Sar HaMazel about me? Yeah, I asked about you. What did he say? He said that your mazel is that if you get married today, you are going to be recognized as a princess, and you're going to be the heir to the throne, and that you and your husband are going to be rich and powerful forever after. She jumps up and says, quickly, before the sun sets, let's get married, marry me. He goes, oh no, I'm not helping you. I went here to help myself. I'm sick of this already. Whatever I do in my life is only helping someone else. No, but you don't understand. You don't understand. I'm sick and tired of people taking advantage of me. Goodbye. And she's crying, but yeah, goodbye. And he goes on. He comes to the tree. And the tree says, so what did the Sarah Mazel say? My luck, what he says. He doesn't answer. He answers, what did the Sarah Mazel say with you before all my apples fall on your head? So he says that the Sarah Mazel said that the reason you're shaking back and forth is that somebody once planted a treasure in your roots. And your roots aren't, like they don't get enough air, or they're not grabbing hold to the ground. He goes, quickly. He says, dig it up. Take away the treasure. Take home the treasure. And my roots will spread and I'll be strong. No, I'm not helping you. Sick and tired of wasting my life helping others. And he storms away. I showed those two. Then he comes to the lion. The lion is on the floor, it's all sick, and he goes, the lion says, what did the Sarah Mazel say? I'll tell you what the Sarah Mazel said. Sarah Mazel said, you're refuah, you're going to be healed if you eat someone who walks around angry in life, and that he is so foolish and he's so bitter that he'd rather kill himself and then help someone else, not realizing that the helping someone else is his Yeshua. The lion then proceeded to eat him. Thus ended the mashal. This person really is us. There are times in our life we get into this mode. I'm sick and tired of helping others, and we fail to see the treasure and the hope and the bracha that is there as the Kadosh Baruch Hu sends it to us. And in a sense, that's the Pach Shemen that was found deep, deep down in the destroyed Beis HaMikdash. In the Beis HaMikdash that was so defiled. And the three basic halachas of Hanukkah is that it's lit on the left side, lamata, underneath, and that it's lit at night. The left side refers to a person that's on the tzad ha-smoil. The tzad ha-smoil is the tzad of the sitra achra. A person going through sfeikis in his own amunah. He questions his own faith. Lamata, the fact that it has to be low down, refers to a person that feels he's in the dumps, that he was already nichshal, balayla, dafke at night, where he feels there's no hope and there's no future. And that's the school of the Ner Chanukah. The school of the Ner Chanukah is to take this metaphor, take this person and this mashal, and there's a little bit of him in all of us, and say, hello, wake up, marry the maiden, take the treasure! And stay away from the line. Mm-hmm. So the Sfas Emes says that that's one of the reasons, Al Pi Drush, or Al Pi Kabbalah, or Al Pi Said, that you cannot hold an Ner Chanukah. If you hold an Ner Chanukah in your hands, you're not Yotze. Now, Pashtis, it's because it then looks like a flashlight. But he says that in the Tiferet Inyan, you would be holding the Ner Chanukah. It looks like I want answers to my tzaras in life. That the purpose of the Ner Chanukah would be, okay. And that's not what Ner Chanukah is. Ner Chanukah is you keep it right where it is. As a matter of fact, you even have to bend down towards the Ner Chanukah. The Ner Chanukah is to take you and your matzif, in your situation in life, with all of your trials and tribulations, and say, guess what? We're going to shine the light over here to understand that what you're trying to run away from is the etzem, your tikkun. Because the answer, we're always looking for the other side of the mountain. And the Yeshua is, the light should shine on your side of the mountain. Somebody once told me this. In Borough Park, there used to be a 16th Avenue bus, all over Hashem. It no longer exists. There is no bus along 16th Avenue. It was taken away for many, many reasons. First and foremost, to provide more parking spaces where the bus stops used to be. I think that was the primary reason. The bus averaged about a person and a half every week. So the MTA said, it's just ridiculous. We can't have a scooter going up and down 16th Avenue, but no more bus. So because the politicians got involved, they wanted to save the 16th Avenue bus. There was a major meeting about it to save the 16th Avenue bus, it's good to have major meetings over things like this, and you have to deal with the real serious stuff. And so they had a representative of all different places. This is what I heard. I don't know if it's true. They were having different eitzes of how they can encourage people to take the 16th Avenue bus. You know what I mean? It would be your tikkun in life, and maybe have people going back and forth the entire day, and make you learn Daf Yomi, going one amid when it goes one way, the other amid when it goes the other way. Coming up with different ideas how to get people to travel to save the bus. So they said that someone was sitting there, and he was a driver, and he said like this, that and the 18th Avenue bus does very well. So why, for a couple of hours a day, he'll just go off 16th Avenue, go up and down 18th Avenue, right? For that money, you can go, of course, into Manhattan, go up and down Broadway. That's very good, but you're no longer the 16th Avenue bus, if you understand. The point of here is to save the 16th Avenue bus as it was in meaning intention, not to turn it into the 18th Avenue bus. Too many of us spend a good deal of our lives trying to be something that we're not. and we never find it. We never find it because it's not there. The idea is, how do we take who we are? Somebody once came and said to one of the big Bali Musar that if he had the heart of the Shagasarya, the Midas of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, and if he had the mind of Rabbi Kiva Eiga, then he would be. He says the Mashiach doesn't need you then. He already has Rabbi Kiva Eiga in the Shagas. He needs you with your mind and your heart and your Midas, and you do the best that you can. And one of the inyonim of Neiros Chanukah is we should get to know who we are. It lights up who we are. They say to a mugger, throw somebody down on the ground. He says, money or life. He says, I have no cash. I'm going to kill you. He says, can I give you a check? He says, you want me to take a check? I don't even know you. You want me to take a check from you? The inyanim is that we get to know ourselves, that we get to see who we are. Somebody told me he once passed a mechanic and there was a big sign in front. It said, Shomer Chinam. Shomer Chinam. So he went in. It turned out that the guy was told to hang up a sign Shomer Shabbos. That's good for his business. And he tried to lift it out of a computer, out of some site. So he mixed up. He hung up a sign Shomer Chinam. That's what he is. Right? We want to try to find out who we are. You know the story that Yidla walks into the bank with his Maserati there, and he says he parks it outside. He says, I want to take out a loan. He says, how much the loan you want to take out? He says, $1. Want to take out $1 loan? He says, yeah. He says, you advertise no loan too small. So these loan officers, they work on commission. So $1, all the paperwork we have to go through for $1. I don't know. We're going to call the banking department. You advertise. You go, oh my God, his mazel. For hours they're filling out papers and papers and papers. And finally he says to him, what are you going to use for collateral? He goes, my Maserati. Gives him the keys. He goes to Florida. He comes back after 3 months. They go through all the paperwork. He says there's like 300,000 charges over here. Closing fees and this and that. He goes, yeah, I know. All for $1 loan. He says, what's with you? What's your cheshbon? He says, what's my cheshbon? He said, I can't find a parking lot in town that wants to take my Maserati. And those that want to take it are charging $3,000 a month. I said, you realize with this loan application, the bank had to watch my car for 3 months. Sometimes we don't realize who we are and what essence. So the Neiros Chanukah is to wake us up to who we are. Square Rebbe used to say that Pesach, I think, remember something, and Pesach we clean the area. Shavuos we get the orders and the plans, what we want to build. Sukkot we build the house. But until you turn on the lights, until Hanukkah, there's no home to live in. Ask the people that unfortunately live in darkness for such a long period of time. There were many tzaddikim who used to say that people that were depressed or so on, that a tremendous skula is to stare at the Neiros Chanukah, just to stare at the Neiros, especially the first half hour after you light, which is the time that it's supposed to light, and then the minhag is to say the Yosher B'Seiser 7 times, which is the Shiras Begoyim, the Shira that keeps the spooky things away. There's nothing more spookier than a person who's depressed or a person that is not enjoying life because he feels the whole world is out to get him. And the emphasis when we say Al HaNisem, the Al Ha, anyone? I want to wake you up there. Al HaPurkan, right? What does the word Purkan mean anyway? Purkan means Yeshua. Okay. So I asked that to my class. They all whipped out their art scrolls. Salvation. What's Purkan in terms of salvation more so than any other salvation? So what do we say on Shabbos? We say Yikum Purkan. And where do we sing in the Zmiros Friday night a similar word that comes from the same Shirish? Right? So what does the word Praik mean? Redeem us. But really the word Praik, the Shirish of the word Praik means to break off or to lift. There's a mitzvah of Prika and Te'ina. Right? What's the mitzvah of Prika? I'm carrying a very, very heavy load to lift the load off me. That Chanukah has a particular segula. And the particular segula of Chanukah is to bring out in other words, there are people that are potentially, that can have such a happy life. They have so much to be thankful for. Yet there are things weighing down on them, whether it's anger, or whether it's frustration, or whether it's fear, or whether it's concerns, or whether they're caught up in petty fights. So the Al HaNisem, the Al HaPurkan, to lift these weights. We're not asking for an external Yeshua. We're not asking to become the 18th Avenue bus. We're asking that we, who we are, should learn to enjoy who we are. I met a fellow this week. He told me he's on a crash diet. He's mamish, he's taking it very serious. Now I know that his doctor has been telling him for a while that he has to take this very, very serious. He has certain issues. I remember I went with him to the doctor even years ago. He wanted to know if he can fast Tisha B'Av. And in the summer, he went to the guy, and the doctor looked at him. He said, "You can fast Tisha B'Av." He said, "You can fast the day after Tisha B'Av. You can fast the day after Tisha B'Av." He said, "It won't be dangerous. Dangerous is when you won't fast." He said. So also now he's losing weight. He's this diet, that diet. I said, what's the big emergency? You're losing weight now. The doctor already warned you all the things that are coming. He said that he applied for life insurance, and whatever the rate was, his weight was an issue. And the guy told him, if you can knock off 25 pounds, he says you can save $150 a month. So now he's losing weight. So I asked you, when the doctor told him he may get diabetes, type 2, when the doctor told him, chas v'shalom, that the chances of a heart attack or stroke are multiplied who knows how many times, when the doctor told him, look around and tell me how many real elderly big men do you see, that didn't scare him. But $150 a month, boom, he's on a diet, he's on the treadmill. What went? But that's human nature. And so someone showed me an article. He once read, one of the lotteries that you could win, besides the Powerball, where we will not get into a lottery discussion again, but one of the lotteries you can win is $500 a week for as long as you're alive. So this guy won the $500 a week for longer that he's alive, and they asked him, so what are you doing then, after the $500 a week? So he goes, and he says, all of a sudden he's watching his weight, he's walking to work, and he's concerned about his cholesterol count. So all of a sudden you're concerned about your cholesterol count. Like why? He says $500 a week. If I die a week earlier, the government gets my $500 for that week. If I lose a year of my life, he stopped smoking. I said, what, for the $500? What about life for life itself? Wasn't that a good enough reason to stop smoking? Here's where you stopped. He says, where does it go? I had the opportunity, we had the wonderful Ar Yitzchak Shabbos. It was really a gorgeous, beautiful, uplifting Shabbos. And just the icing on the cake is by the Avos Ibon and Matzah Shabbos. My little one won this ping pong table, which is, I had to schlep home with my stuff. And that wasn't as bad as he makes me play ping pong with him. And, it's been a while. Now, I actually used to be very good at it. And I was surprised how much I still had that swing on me. And I'm playing with my kid back and forth, and we had a very good time. So someone asked me that it wasn't hard. I said, no. The ping pong wasn't hard. He said, what got hard since the last time I played 30 years ago was when the ball fell down, picking it up. That was harder. He used to just pick it up. Now it's like, that's what got hard. The bending down to pick up the ball. Okay, so purkan means the removal of a burden. That's what we're mispalel for when we say Yikum Purkan. That's what we are mispalel for when we cry out to our Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's that burden that is on us, that there's no reason I shouldn't go around smiling. There's no reason I shouldn't enjoy life. There's no reason I shouldn't enjoy Shabbos. Just people are caught up sometimes in their own emotions, the daigas and the concerns and the worries. And it's the greatest pity in the world. Where there's so much of us that could enjoy life, take the treasure, marry the maiden, so to speak, going back to the mashal. No, we're not going to do it because we're angry. Pirkan, the school of Ner Chanukah is to be ma'oyer that simcha, to sit there and to be mispalel that we find ourselves. The Medrash says about Yosef HaTzadik that Yosef mishaloi nasnulai. Pari made Yosef second in command. They had 1,000 people marching in front of him. The Medrash says playing trumpet. I guess they needed one of those cottons that they put into your ears. He said 1,000 people running ahead of him, 1,000 drummers, 500 all these. You think Paroi gave Yosef something, a big beautiful chariot and all of the gold and the jewelry. You think Paroi gave Yosef something that he didn't have? No, says the Medrash. Yosef, Mishaloi Nasnullah. It was all Yosef's. So the Medrash as follows. Piv Shaloi Nashak B'Aveira. The mouth that didn't do an ashika with an aveira, because of that he was zaycha to balpicha yisha kalami. His guf that didn't touch sin, therefore he was zaycha to these gorgeous begadim, the bigdei sheish. His neck that didn't tilt to watch the dvar aveira, and that's chos it says v'yasem revid hazav al tzavara. that he had the beautiful necklace. His hands that didn't touch Aveira, in that schus he was Zaycha to V'yasa Parias to Batim Yal Yodai. His feet that didn't travel to Aveira, in that schus he was Zaycha to this big beautiful carriage. The Machshava that he didn't think the Aveira, in that schus he was Zaycha to the tremendous amount of Chachma. What's the Medrash really saying? The Medrash is saying that here's Yosef who made it to the top. He is the most powerful person in the world. He has all of the riches and honor and glory. And we think, if only I can win the Powerball. If only I can get that. It wasn't that. It was him. All of that bracha was within him. Because he stood up to the Nisyanis in his life. So the bracha that was internal came to fruition. Yosef Mishaloi Naslulai. The Medrash is saying, you think what Yosef was Zaycha to, he struck it rich, he happened to be in the right place at the right time. He dealt with the disappointments in his life. He dealt with the Yetzer Hara in his life. He dealt with one would question Amunah, Yosef, because he said those two words, therefore he's stuck in jail all these extra 2 years. Yosef asked no questions, and he forged on and fought the Yetzer Hara in a seemingly impossible situation. 17-year-old kid enticed by such an unbelievable power of chait, and Yosef forges on. So all of a sudden, all of these powers came out from within him. Zok the Medrash, you have it within you too. And if we stand up to the nisyanis and the tests in our life, these same brachas are already there. All we need is someone to lift it. He married Asnas. So Eshes Petifer came and told Yosef, listen, the stars say there's going to be generations from us. We're doing a mitzvah. What are you talking about? Aveira? It's a big mitzvah. Put on your gartel and the mitzvah. So Yosef, he doesn't buy this. He says, no, it doesn't sound right. I don't see the Dvar Hashem. I just don't see that. Right? V'yarki einish v'yonas v'yetzi achutza. The word in the Belzer Rab. My father used to say that. I don't see that. I don't have the sense that God likes this. That's it. What was Yosef's taina to her? There's going to be, my name is going to be one of the 12 stones on the Kohen Gadol's breastplate, and it's not going to be there. What if one day Hashem is going to ask me to be a carbon, I'll be puzzled for a carbon. I mean, you're about to be over the worst Aveira in the world. I can't do it because my stone may come off that's the reason not to, because your stone's going to pop off the chayshit. The answer is because she came with big tainas, you're being massacred in the world over here. And he says, no, to me this is the Yetzer Hara. It's not the world. So at the end, who did he get? He got Asnas. Asnas was Petifa's daughter, not Eshes Petifa's biological daughter, but it was the daughter that she raised. Who was Asnas' biological mother? Dinah. Right? So he gets Asnas' daughter. So the Gross says in the Sefer Evan Shloimeh, some people pronounce it. He says, look, a person comes down to this world with a certain amount of taiva, pleasure, that is assigned to him. You don't lose by adhering to halacha. You only get it beheter. And a person that uses it up, bi'aveira, is only not going to get it beheter. One of the most frustrating things, after 120 years, he explains, is, I'm going to be punished for this when I could have had it and it wouldn't have even been a mitzvah. And the same is true for money that I don't take, that doesn't belong to me. And the same is true for every tithe, and the same is true for everything. There's no such a thing as a chaytaniska. You don't lose out because of aveira. Let me say that, I remember the last time you mentioned this, but everyone bowed down to Yosef, right? He saw in his dream, who are the Achad Asa Kechav? There's 11 brothers. What about his sister Dinah? How come she didn't bow down to him? Because one day Dinah was going to be his shviga, his mother-in-law. Mothers-in-law don't bow down to sons-in-law. Period. Okay. So now, Zakta Marinayim, Silas Ashmanim, even wicks and oils that are possible for Shabbos are kosher for Chanukah. What does that mean? Even those neshamas that have gotten into such a rut that they no longer feel the beauty of Shabbos, that even Shabbos cannot be misaken them, you should know Chanukah could be misaken you. Chanukah could wake you up. The Divrei Shmuel, one of the Slonim Rebbes, so he was all year, Chanukah was everything by him. He pressed his own olives throughout the year for Chanukah. That's how important it was then. And it's Shabbos Chanukah, and he comes with his shivering hands. This is mamish like the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. And he sets it all up. It's Friday. He runs up to his Rebbe, was the Yisadu Avodah, and he comes down. And this vagabond that's walking around, this like a homeless guy comes in. He sees a nice menorah. He says, "Oh, Chanukah," and he lights it. Meanwhile, Divrei Shmuel comes down and goes, "Who lit his menorah? This is the oil that he pressed all year with, Kavanas Arizal." And he looks at the watch. He could really technically extinguish it and relight it, but it's too late. It's Shabbos. So he turns around and what does he say? He says, the same Rabbeinu Shalom that told me to light Chanukah Lech is now telling me not to get angry. And to say this is what had to happen, and let's proceed now with a Simchas Chanukah and a Simchas Chanukah on Shabbos. That is what Neiros Chanukah is. And that's why you have unique halachas by Neiros Chanukah that don't exist anywhere else. There's a bracha just for seeing Ner Chanukah. If somebody does not have the opportunity to light, he makes the bracha of Shas Nisim. Where do you see such a bracha just for seeing the Ner Chanukah? Because the whole yesod of Neiros Chanukah is whoever you are, whatever your matzav is, I know easier said than done, light it up. Don't look to go someplace else. Don't look to become the 18th Avenue bus. Don't look at the other side of the mountain. Look who you are. We mentioned the story many times. The Chavetz Chaim had a Rebbe, Rav Nachum of Herdona. Rav Nachumka he was called. So the Chavetz Chaim used to say, then he stopped repeating the story, but he used to say when he was a young man, he wanted to watch his Rebbe. Rav Nachumka officially was the shamus of the shul. So he was there, he cleaned the water out, he cleaned this, he cleaned that, he took care of everything. And I've told this story many times. And I heard this from Rav Belsky, from his father, learned in Radin. He came to Radin the first time, and what did he see the Chavetz Chaim do? And they asked the very first time you saw the Chavetz Chaim. He sat there with malachim flying around. Like what? He said the first time he saw the Chavetz Chaim, he was standing on a stool with a scoop, and he was over the samovar, the urn, and he was scooping out lakshan from the samovar. He asked someone, who's that? That's Chavetz Chaim. Oh. On the covers of the Shmir Saloshn, you don't have this picture of him scooping out lakshan. So what is that about? He said the Bachrim used to eat what's called teg. The Bachrim used to eat by the different people in town, and it was not a very good system until the dormitory started, and they were very resentful. The Bachrim had to come, they had to feed them once a night, so often they would serve them lakshan, they would keep the chicken for when the guy left, and tonight lakshan for supper. Then the guy would leave his watch there. I see this chicken. Oh, we forgot. Oh, yeah, right. He would come back. So finally the Bachrim decided they're going to give it to these Balabatim. And the Balabatim all used this urn for coffee. In the morning, they filled it up with lakshan. If we come tomorrow, we'll give them lakshan. So the Chavetz Chaim heard about it. He didn't know what a machlok is, so he stood there for hours scooping out the lakshan from the thing. But that's what makes the Chavetz Chaim a Chavetz Chaim. It's time to write the Mishnah Berurah, and it's time to scoop out lakshan. Whatever Hashem sends me, that's where I go. No such a thing as it doesn't pass. So, even though there's Chacham, but this was in the middle of the night. So the Rav Nachumka was a shamus. Okay? It was a shamus of the shul. That was his official capacity. But the Chavetz Chaim knew he was a tzaddik. So once the Chavetz Chaim hid underneath a bench, and he watched Rav Nachumka, finish sweeping up, putting all the hangers back, and all the chumashim, and closing the windows, and he sat down to an old stender, took out a little key, took out an old sefer, and he started learning. And as he started learning, so the Chavetz Chaim wanted to yell, "Fire!" But he stopped, because he realized it wasn't a regular fire, there was no smoke, it was like the Or Hagonis that was there. The Chavetz Chaim later stopped repeating the story, because somebody brought up the idea that they would venture to suggest that not everybody would have seen that light coming out. The Chavetz Chaim saw it. So Reb Nachumka lived in the town of Herdona. The Herdona was where the Yisod V'Shar Yeshu Avodah lived. So Reb Nachumka once said it was Friday, Erev Shabbos, and there were a bunch of soldiers stationed in town. It may have even been Shabbos Chanukah, if I remember correctly. They had no food, and Reb Nachumka turned over worlds that should have food for Shabbos and get them into Shabbos homes, and he fought with the general and ran here for protection and schlepped boxes and crates of food, and he came home, walked into Lachunaranina all, and so he sat down there, he said, the Yisod V'Shar Shavadi used to say Shir Hashirim, and everyone knew that when he said Shir Hashirim in this town, so V'Shar lived 100 years before, so malachim came flying from all over. He says, our job is to bring malachim by schlepping these boxes of food. So everyone has to bring malachim in the way that they know how to bring malachim. Shalom ba Yisadim. So the Chavetz Chaim says later on, he was once by Rav Nachumka, he was very makbid to light by the Zman, especially according to the Gra, to light by Shkia, and he's waiting, his wife is not home, she's chapping a shmuz with someone outside, as the nature of the Ben Ishchai writes someplace that he was once sitting, and his daughters were talking, the next room, and finally he asked them to be quiet, and they were talking, and he asked them to be quiet, they were talking. Finally he opened up the door, it says, the Gemara says, Tish Kavim Sicha Yardul Yoilam, it says 10 kavim of idle talk came down to the world. He says 9 the women took, 1 went for the men. He says, leave the 1 for the men, Chachik, you don't take everything. So his daughter said, it doesn't say 1 went for the men, it says 9 the women took and 1 went for the whole world. We're still the majority of the whole world, she said, afterwards. Alright? That was heard from, there's Minchas Yitzchak Siddur. Minchas, what was it called? The Baba had a special Siddur. Yiddish Siddur. The Minchas, I forgot what it's called. Carbon Minchas Siddur, right. Those with your Baba cried. Chavetz Chaim said, he showed on the Carbon Minchas Siddur the teardrops of his mother. That's why he became a Chavetz Chaim. Somebody once said, it doesn't say Hashem Sefasei Tiftach over there. That's not necessary. I don't know if that's true or not, but okay. So Aklapan and Belamaisa said the Hashem Sefasei Tiftach of the Chavetz Chaim's mother brought the Chavetz Chaim down to the world. So let's not get too... So Lamaisa here, his wife is not here. She's talking outside, and he's like, tell her, get in. It's almost this month. Get in. And Rav Nachum waited. She came in. He lit candles. It was late. So Rav Nachum told the Chavetz, maybe you're wondering why I didn't. No. He says there's a Ferish Halacha Shulchan Aruch that if somebody doesn't have enough money for both Neiros Shabbos and Neiros Chanukah, which takes precedence? Which comes first? Neiros Shabbos. Why? Because Shalom Bayis Adif. Shalom Bayis is more important. What does that mean, Shalom Bayis? Are we listening to what the Gemara is saying? Shalom Bayis is more important than the Neiros Chanukah. That's why I'm not screaming. That's why I'm not there. So, the Inyan of Ner Chanukah, so where is Ner Chanukah? You could look at something which is bracha and you don't see the bracha. Yeah, Shalom Bayis is Adif, right? Light those Neiros Shabbos, I have to light my Neiros Chanukah. I'm almost, don't tell me almost! That says a Shulchan Aruch, Shalom Bayis comes first, so you better light those Neiros Shabbos, right? We don't think what we're saying. We don't think what we're doing. You can have the biggest bracha in front of you, and somebody told me that he once was in Europe, and he was standing next to the cave of one of the big goinim, the big tzaddikim. So he says over there, the guy says, go, he was a rich man, he went on a tour, he said, say it at tefillah. He goes, this is whose cave? I forgot, one of the big poskim Shulchan Aruch. He goes, do me a favor. He goes, I have everything I need. Stop sending your grandchildren to me for money, okay? Whenever somebody comes knocks on the door, says, I'm an anical of so-and-so, please help me. Would you stop sending your grandchildren to me? Like that was his thing. Here's your bracha, be misfoul, your opportunity. We can miss it. If you don't like the Neiros Chanukah, you miss it. They say somebody once came, knocked on someone's door of a gevir. He said, no, I don't have time for you. He goes, I'm an anical of the shach. You're an anical of the shach? Yeah. Get out! What happened? He says, that rabbi told me because of your grandfather I lost the Torah. You know how much money I lost? He says, I don't want you in my house. Okay. So Ner Chanukah has to be in a specific place. Where's the specific place? It has to be above 3 tvachim from the ground. L'chatchila underneath 10 tvachim. A tefach is about, 4 inches? But if it's higher than 20 amos, it's possible. See, there's a strike zone over here. You got to get it in the strike zone. The strike zone is that don't think the world is mine and everyone owes you. Don't think you're in the dumps. Kadosh Baruch Hu always keeps you above. That's what the Ner Chanukah does. So I asked my class today. I asked them. I told them the story with the Slonim Rebbe, how the guy lit his Ner Chanukah, and this was his response. The same Hashem that said, "I should light Chanukah lech," said, "I shouldn't get angry." I said, honestly, I want you to close your eyes. Imagine you were this person that was going a whole year, and how would you reacted? So one kid said, I would have said that Hashem had the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah anyway. Why should I be angry? I worked the whole year to prepare Ner Chanukah. It wasn't as if I had the mitzvah, someone else had the mitzvah. Hashem had the mitzvah. I said, that's what you would have said? Okay. Then again, that's what he would have said when it comes to the mitzvah. Would you have said that if you took your lunch away? I'm not quite sure. If you took the kugel, you put away for kiddush, right? If you saw Salanter once said there was a guy that got up in the middle, huge big machloikis. He said, no, this has to be this way. And he goes, and if I'm wrong, I'm prepared to give up my whole Olam Haba. Or he saw Salanter once said he wouldn't give up his Olam Haza. Trust me, his Olam Haba is what he gives up. He tell him he wants to give up his house. He's not giving it up. His Olam Haba is giving it away, right? Another kid said, no, it always happens to me. He says. Another kid said, can you imagine this scenario? He says, no, I would not spend a whole year pressing Ali, so I can't imagine it. Another kid said, let that guy who lit my Neiros Chanukah try to find his Negelvasser the next morning. But the emes is that really what Neiros Chanukah does for us is it builds up our self-esteem, our courage to rebuild, our emunah in Hashgacha, understanding God is not throwing me away, He's reassigning me, even if I lost my Neiros Chanukah. And I'm not the greatest person on the world, and I'm not the lowest person on the world. And I have to position myself somewhere in between. And that's where you're supposed to light Ner Chanukah, where you sleep, where you eat. There's a whole shiloh which one takes precedence, but it's supposed to be l'chatchila in your house. All the problems about going to a Chanukah party, you're really supposed to light at home, because the whole purpose of Ner Chanukah is not you should dream of a different house. It's taking your house and changing it. It doesn't take much skill to spin a dreidel. As a matter of fact, you have to be a pretty big shlemazel not to be able to think it. So like poker, you could say lahavdil is a skill, certain gambling is a skill. But what's this? Just spin it? So you heard of art. That's the whole point. You could convince yourself from today to tomorrow you have the wherewithal to outsmart the world. You're not. You're just spinning a dreidel. Skolana Rebbe used to say the dreidel means you don't see your way out. One dray the right way. One good shmonesra, one good tzedakah, and you dray yourself out of your tzaras. You know, I mentioned this many times. A fellow of mine, a friend of mine, he fixes computers. So he said he fixed the program for an elderly gentleman he's trying to teach him. So the guy calls him back. He says, is it working? He says, only half the time. Half the time? Doesn't make sense. You click and it doesn't go on the program. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. How often yes, how often not? Like 50% of the time yes, 50% of the time not. He says either it works or it doesn't work. Doesn't make sense. So he comes over to check it out and he says, show me what you're doing. So the guy goes, he takes the mouse. Okay, now click. He goes, boom, 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 click, 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 click. Now 50% yes. You each keep clicking. So it's you're going on, off, on, off, on, off. So half the time it's on, half the time it's off. So it says really that in the olden days, if you wanted to make something, you had to control it. The idea that you press a button and sit back, it is in a sense a new concept. So that's the spinning of the dreidel. We do our shtadlis, we spin the dreidel, gegangen weiter. Now the month of Kislev was supposed to be a big month. They prepared a tremendous Siyam Hashas, big stadium in the Midbar. It was going to be opening day of the Mishkan. And the last minute Hashem came to Kislev and said, I want you to give up speaking about a Siyam Hashas. Really? Why? Because somewhere down the pike, the Yidden are going to be in bad shape. The Yevonim are going to shichu anechem, darken their eyes. The covet of Klal Yisrael is going to be on the earth. The Beis HaMikdash is going to be in ruins. Worse than a destroyed Beis HaMikdash is a Beis HaMikdash that's standing and that doesn't have the Kedusha to it. It's just total confusion. And we need you to be a Chanukah to enlighten their lives. And Kislev gave way. So Kislev said, I'm ready to do it. That's the Pchina of Kislev. That's Yehudis, who said to her brothers, hey guys, you're letting them take me to the Greek general now? What should we do? Get into the mud, what you should do! Jump in! Right? Aaron felt bad when he saw the Nesiim, each bringing their kabbanas. Hashem said, yours is greater, you're going to light the Ner as Chanukah. The Sfas Emes has a beautiful spin on this. The Sfas Emes says, who says Aaron is greater than the Nesiim? He says the Nesiim did tremendous things. Yehuda on opening day of the Mishkan. But it was only for that moment. Aaron HaKohen taught the Nesiim, no, don't do it. You got to think about all future generations. You got to think about the month of Kislev. Each of the Nesiim represented a different month. You got to speak at the times. You got to jump into the mud. So what's called Tit HaYavin, if you learn Masechtas Mikvahs, but the halachas of Chatzitzis, Tit HaYavin is the thickest mud. It's the tit that was used for deep, like pits. There's something called Getz HaYavin. There was areas that were so trampled, you don't even realize that it's not part of the road. That's what Yavan does to us. It makes us like sick of our own lives. We feel so trampled now, we don't believe that there's a chance. And this is the breaking out of Yavan. I heard from my Mechutin, Rabbi Aaron Laser said a beautiful word. There's piyutim. Yeah. How would you like to say Yotzris this Shabbos Chanukah? Well, guess what? There were certain places they used to say Yotzris on Shabbos Chanukah. So he showed me in those Yotzris, it says, you know where they found the Pach Shemen? Under the Mizbeach, there were certain canals where the sheetin, where the wine and the oil used to thing, and they ran deep into the ground, and that's where they found the Pach Shemen, those little canals under the Mizbeach. Now the Emes says, the Gemara says that every 70 years the Kohanim would dig deep into the ground and clean out these sheetin, and they would do an oil change. They would do a wine change, because some of the wine got like clustered, and they would clean it out. So make a cheshbon, the Nes of Chanukah took place 210 years into Bayis Sheni. So that meant that it was an even number of 70 years. So it was time for the Kohanim to dig out the wine that got stuck, the sediments, and that's where they found the Pach Shemen. When you're willing to go into the mud for someone else, under those circumstances, and only under those circumstances, you find the Pach Shemen. I don't want to get into it now, just real quickly. The Svarim say the Reb Meir is connected to Chanukah. Reb Meir means light. The Gemara says, Lo Reb Meir Shemai, El Rav Nahiroi Shemai. His name was light. Now Reb Meir also had another name. What was one of the names of Reb Meir? It's called Acherim. Acherim? Why was he called Acherim? The other one? Anyone? Why was Reb Meir called Acherim? Because he was a Talmud of Acher. And Acher was the person who was Elisha ben Avua, who by his bris did normal learning, and there was a big flame shooting out. And he said, and his father said, "Oh, that's a good covetous for Torah. Let him learn." So as he was learning, he was singing Greek tunes. And on his iPod, they found Greek tunes over there, and there was some Greek books over there. And the Gemara says about Shluch Hakam that he had all kind of problems. He saw someone go up to get a bird for his father, and he fell down. He had the 2 mitzvahs of Arichas Yamim. And the Gemara says 4 entered into the paradise, into a very heavenly abode, very high. And Rabbi Kiva was the only one that came out unscathed. Ben Zayma and Ben Azai were hurt. Acher came out an apikairis, so Acher lost it. He becomes an apikairis. And Reb Meir sticks with him the whole time. And because Reb Meir sticks with him the whole time, Reb Meir is referred to as Acherim, because he's a Talmud of Acher. And once Acher is riding on a horse, and Reb Meir is running after him on Shabbos. Acher is on the horse, and Acher says to Reb Meir, "Stop! It's Chum Shabbos." He goes, "Rebbe, what about you?" He goes, "Forget it, I'm gone." "What do you mean you're gone?" I heard a Baskel that said everyone can do tshuva with the exception of Acher. So the Gemara says he was wrong, because those two things you can't do tshuva anymore. Now, Reb Meir never lets go of his Rebbe, and obviously there was a tremendous amount of controversy to the point that he's referred to as a Chayrim, not as Reb Meir. Even after Acher died, Reb Meir says it's terrible. Torah is protecting him. He doesn't go into Gehenna. I want him to go into Gehenna. Some Talmud, you want him to go into Gehenna? He says, you want him to have his tikkun. He should be able to go into Eilam Haba. Reb Meir said, just wait till I pass away. Reb Meir passes away, smoke starts coming out of Acher's caver. Because I want him to have his tikkun. So Reb Meir's pchina is to help his Rebbe. Because that was Reb Meir's whole life. To enlighten and to shine someone else's life. The Gemara says that the halach is not like Reb Meir. Why? Because Reb Meir could be matayir sheretz with 100 kal v'chomers. He can bring 100 kal v'chomers that a sheretz is mutter. 100 kal v'chomers that a sheretz is mutter. Why would he do that? And the answer is because if the Talmud had a kruma cup, he tried to associate with that kruma cup. He tried to think the way the Talmud thinks, like that famous mashal with the duck, right? Where the king's son thought he was a duck, and all the sakalos just come and they try to convince him, you're not a duck. Let me explain to you. We'll give you 10 reasons why you're not a duck. And they're trying to take him to Ducks Anonymous to show people where with a therapy, but nothing works. He still thinks he's a duck. Comes a yidel, he says, I'll do it. He takes off his clothes, jumps into the water. What are you doing? King's son says, I'm also a duck. You think you're the only duck over here? I'm also a duck. And they both paddle around for a while. Finally, he starts complaining, why are you leaving the water? Ducks leave the water sometimes. Next day, he gets dressed. Why are you getting dressed? Ducks get dressed sometimes. And slowly, he coaxed them back into being a human being. That was Reb Meir. Reb Meir went into the kruma cup of the Talmud. The Gemara says that Rabbeinu HaKadosh said, I was one zeicha to see the back of Reb Meir, and that's where I got all my greatness from. Sometimes the back of Reb Meir was, I was zeicha to see how Reb Meir turns everything around upside down to associate himself with the crooked reasoning of the Talmud in order to connect him and to be able to bring him up. Gemara tells us that Reb Meir went into a kupa shel zaynant, into his sister, his wife's sister, who was the daughter of Rav Chanina ben Teradian, was taken by the Romans, and she was put into a kupa shel zaynant. She was put into a prostitution ring, and Reb Meir went in there to save her. The story of Reb Meir Balanes. So Reb Meir, there was no such thing. He went into the mud to save people. His reputation meant nothing. But where did this all start? There's another Gemara that says Reb Meir had a problem with the Apikarsim. He said, I'm going to destroy them. And his wife told him, it doesn't say Yitamu Chatan, it says Yitamu Choitim. Be mispal, they should do tshuva. Don't be mispal to destroy them. So he listened to his wife. It all starts with you have to have the chachma to be able to listen. And that's why Reb Meir is the Nes Chanukah. Acherim, Reb Meir, Meir in the Hayraya, the Kabbalah Suram all bring Reb Meir's Haloi Me'Torah L'Shma, Zeichel Edvarim Harba. That's the Nes Chanukah. Now, who was Reb Meir's grandfather, his great-grandfather? Nero Caesar. What happened to Nero Caesar? He came to Yerushalayim, he shot an arrow in one direction, it turned the other way, headed toward Yerushalayim. Shot an arrow in a different direction, turned the other way. It was like a patriot system all around that turned all the arrows toward Yerushalayim. He said, God wants to destroy Yerushalayim, then blame me. No way, I'm becoming a ger. So I heard that that's one of the reasons of the dreidel. You spin it in all different directions, it comes back to where Kadosh Baruch Hu wants it to come back. I want to conclude by saying, I always have Rahmanis when someone that comes over to me and asks me what my name is for an Aliyah. Because I have a long name. My name is Yom Tov Lipa Fischel Ben. And I'll say your father's name, so let's say Chaim Shim. It's not his name. And just take a different name. But the first name is correct. So the Gabba comes over to me, okay, what's your name? Yisrael, yeah. Your name? Yom Tov Lipa Fischel Ben Chaim Shimon. So usually what happens is like this. The Gabba walks to the bima, he goes, Yamai, and he turns and comes back, what was the name again? So I try to say it slowly, but that doesn't help. I once bought my parking ticket. The guy, my father put all my names on the birth certificate. So the judge said, please state your full name. So I said, Yom Tov Lipa Fischel. Ben Chaim Shem, I was used to saying it. So Yom Tov Lipa Fischel. And he was like, he goes, you want me to repeat it? He goes, no, don't repeat it. So I learned that the way to do it is, when the Gabbai asks me my name, I walk over with him to the Amid. I said, wait till you're ready to call me up. And as he's calling me up, I say it. Because b'shas ma'isa, there's no shikha yet, right? By the time he walks from this place to the Bima, what was the name again? But the Rabbi Shem, there's no shikha. Ain't shikha with nekitz chevedecha. Everything is happening right there and then. There are no questions. If you see the entire picture, if you see the entire picture in front of you, it is all there. The Shevet Musar, you know why he wrote the Shevet Musar? He woke up one morning, and he used to wake up very early, and he picked up a gartel, and he was wondering, somebody gave him a beautiful gartel, really a shmaka, like a felt gartel. He wrapped it around him, he started to learn. When the sun came up, he saw it wasn't a gartel, it was a rattlesnake. And so he wrote the Sefer after the Mamash Kosh Baruch Hu saved his life. He physically picked it up and strangled it, clutched it as he went. There's the nachash in our life. You want to run away from it. And sometimes you can't run away from it. And there's a way through the koyach of Torah to deal with it head on. I want to conclude with this story. Ma'aser Shahayi in the Sefer Lein L'Shabeach, I think he brings one of his svarim, about a guy that went tachlis with a girl, and the girl said, no! And he was not a happy camper. And you'll soon see she had a good reason to say no, because he said, I'm going to get even with her. There was another guy in his dorm that he wasn't getting along with. So he decided... He called up this, he arranged a shidduch between his dorm mate and this girl, but he never told the girl or her father about it. They convinced the boy that they're waiting for you. So he's going to come knocking, going out on a date, all dressed up. Man, good to be bizyonis. So the guy's sitting there, they're eating the potato latke. His doorbell rings, the father opens the door. This guy's all dressed up, and that fake smile, like, what do I do? How do I hold my ears? And he says, can I help you? He goes, yeah, came to take out your daughter. What? Who are you? I said, oh no, I heard of a date going bad. I'm not getting to first base. I didn't get off home plate. Like, ready? What did I do wrong? So the father says, looks at the guy. The poor guy's going through the floor in the bush. He goes, let me get to the bottom. Who sent you here? So he gets right to the bottom of it. That Nebuch, his dorm mate, sent him. So he feels so bad for the guy that he lets him go out with his daughter. And at the end, they become engaged. So he brings the shail over there that this original guy has the chutzpah, he wants the shatchanas money. You know how many times in life the biggest klala turns into bracha? Our biggest embarrassment, it shidduch would have never been if not for that. That's what Neiros Chanukah is. Neiros Chanukah takes your most embarrassing moment of life and lights it up. And says, if you really believe that there's a boirei olam, that it's all there, you don't have to know why. But in your heart you have that feeling there's an aragonis, and just let the light sit in, and you'll see there'll be plenty of simchas to follow.